Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all, just back with this video here. I want to give you my thoughts on this recent interview that was done a few days ago. It's been going around the boxing world, this interview of Mark Breland about his relationship with Deontay Wilder. And it was done by a YouTube channel called Stamina for Sale. I never really watched the channel before. It just came up in my feed, I guess when everybody started watching it. But interview was done by a guy named Spence and Anthony Yar's trainer, Tundi. And they sat down with Mark Breland for like an hour or two. And like an hour or so into the interview, they started asking about his relationship with Deontay Wilder. And, Mark Breland kind of gave you his thoughts on the whole situation. Some of it I disagree with. Some I just kind of found questionable. But some things, okay, I agree with. But not everything in this interview. Some of the things I found a little interesting and questionable were the training aspect, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video. That's why I'm going to give you my thoughts on. But if you haven't seen the interview, he just discussed a little bit of everything, He's done with Wilder. He talked about the power being the only thing Wilder has. He kind of tore down the resume of Wilder at this point, saying that remains to Vern, those wins weren't really legit. Saying Luis Ortiz, the first fight was his only legit win. Just a lot of different things like that. There really wasn't a lot of back and forth or a lot of drama talk as far as him just being animated or colorful about it. He was just kind of straight to the point about everything he said, which lets you know that they have severed ties. And I know since then, Wilder, he's responded, which I'll talk about in another video. But like I said, the interesting thing I want to talk about here that I found questionable was the fact that when he was asked about the training, the behind the scenes with Deontay Wilder, he said that there were certain things Wilder just didn't do in camp, like jump rope, hit the speed bag, hit the heavy bag, which I've seen him hit the heavy bag before. But the other things, like he said, he didn't do. Of course, Wilder said before himself that he doesn't do traditional road work like running. He doesn't do a lot of this stuff in camp, and now he says that power is the only thing he has, so we'll see how far it takes him. Okay, so if Deontay Wilder is doing these certain things in camp, okay, that is the fighter's fault. If he's continuing to follow his own regimen and just do what he wants, that's part of the fighter too, right? That's their fault too. But what is the camp doing? What are the guys in the corner doing to get it into his head? Are they just kind of chilling and letting him do whatever he wants? They're just kind of sitting back. I know it's the fighter's choice to do what they want, but if you're hired to do a job and you're there for almost 12 years, why have you not seen improvements in a guy? I know some guys can be one-dimensional or set in their ways, but it seems like if you two have some type of relationship, whether it's Jay Diaz and Wilder or Mark Breland and Wilder, some of that should be rubbing off on you. Some of that should be rubbing off on the fighter, especially if you're a decorated champion, you're a student of the game for years and years, former world champion, Olympic gold medalist. Seems like there should be a point somewhere that this rubs off on Deontay Wilder. Some of these work ethics and some of these habits should rub off. What's the saying? Iron sharpens iron, right? So there should be a point in time where you should really start seeing improvement, even like, say, when he first became champion, okay? Like, maybe he was dependent on power in the beginning, but it seems like if they were really, really trying to get into his head that he needs to work on his game and his fundamentals, something should have changed along the way. Or if you felt like things weren't right or chemistry wasn't there, seemed like somebody should have severed ties a long time ago before it turned into what it did, before it really came to this head and just popped, you know what I mean? So it just kind of feels like some of that stuff is questionable, and it seems like it's just coming out now that people want to say certain things because the getting's no longer good. But when the getting was good and the knockouts are coming, of course, people are just going to be like, all right, we'll just survive another day. We'll go into this fight again. Oh, you're not listening? Oh, you don't want to jab this time? All right, we'll just knock the guy out. We'll hope you knock him out. You know what I mean? But it can't be that way. I don't feel like the trainer-fighter relationship should be on an eye-to-eye level sometimes. The trainer, he's hired to do a job. He's hired to point out what you do right, what you do wrong, what you could be doing better. You know what I mean? So if he's telling you that your jab stinks, you need to improve that. Or if he's telling you you need to get your ass on the road to run, you need to do that. Or if he's telling you to hit the speed bag, for nine reps for 3 minutes or something like that, you need to do it. You know what I mean? So, and if he says no, then there comes a point where you guys just need to drop everything and have it out then and say, look, this is why you need to do it. If you don't do it, you're not going to improve on these certain things, hand-eye coordination or so on, or you need to be running because eventually you're going to meet a boxer that's going to take you in the deep water, in the deep waters, So all of this stuff should have been said. I don't know if it was said because it just seems like, Mark Breland, Jay Diaz, they just kind of had the personalities where they were just kind of too laid back. They let Wilder run the camp. And it just seemed like it was that type of situation, from what he's saying. And from what they're saying, the outcome is, if you go back to Edmund and Ronda Rousey in MMA, she was just so used to submitting people fight after fight after fight via armbar, it was kind of like, okay, we're just going to treat her any type of way at this point as far as in training. We're just going to teach her some lackluster boxing and lackluster striking. So when time came to strike, she didn't know how. You know what I mean? She got overpowered by Holly Holm. So it's almost one of those situations, like when that person loses, it's time to point fingers, like, where did y'all mess up? But, even though like fights are going good and you're knocking people out, certain things need to be worked on in camp. It can't just be riding the wheels till the wheels fall off, or staying while the getting is good, because eventually you're going to meet your match, or you're going to meet a fighter that can, withstand your punch. So I kind of feel like all of this should have been said in the beginning. You should have been hearing about it in boxing media before, like Wilder and his trainer Mark Breland, they're at odds, or they're really having a tough time here, but they're pushing, because I feel like if you have that type of if you lay that type of hammer down on a fighter early on, eventually they'll thank you. Eventually they're going to thank you if you really lay it on them and say, man, this dude's a hard ass. He's a butthead or whatever, but eventually, he may be what I am. And, because you heard that in the past. You hear fighters say that about their trainers. They're like, oh, this guy, he's no joke, but I got to thank him because he pushed me every step of the way. You see, like, Tank and Coach Calvin Ford, like, watching some of that behind the scenes and some of the trash talk that Calvin Ford, he throws at Tank. It's like, it kind of lights a fire in you, because he's like, he wants the best for you. So he's really talking to Tank like a father. He's like a father and a trainer in there, where he's telling him, nah, man, you ain't done yet, or you need to pick your hands up, or you think you good, nah, you ain't good. He's kind of like saying these different things to trigger things in Tank. He doesn't care about the outcome, or Tank like lashing out on him. He doesn't care about Tank's ego. He's like, leave that at the door. And even fighters I interview always talk about leaving that ego at the door, whatever it is. So I just feel like that's the type of personality that Deontay Wilder needs with him in training, if he's not doing these certain things that you're talking about, especially for 12 years. Like, y'all just continue to let it go on and for 12 years, and when it all comes out, of course, the fans that don't like Wilder, they're just going to focus on him. But me, as a a fan of boxing, how people train, I'm gonna look at everybody. I'm gonna say, okay, well, you're saying you've been in his camp for this long and he hasn't jump rope, or he hasn't went running, and he hasn't hit the speed bag, he hasn't done a lot of these traditional road work things. So I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to look at Wilder, but I'm also going to look at the guys in his camp. I'm going to say, well, what are y'all doing? What were y'all doing to get him in shape? Like, were y'all just kind of standing by? Like, if you did offer a new training regimen to him, like, what was, and his reaction was like he didn't like it. Like, what did y'all come back with? Like, what was y'all's comeback with? Like, what did y'all say? Did y'all not say you need to do this, or you will get knocked out, or certain things like that? You didn't try to trigger something in him. So that was the part I just kind of want to go back and give you my thoughts on, because I just found that kind of interesting to hear. Like, you're with a guy for this long, and he just continues to do what he wants to do. Okay, that says one thing about the fighter, but that also says something about the camp. That's not a good look for you. That's not a good reference for you. Like, if I was a fighter, I'm not going to want to hire Mark Breland or Jay Diaz now. If I just feel like they let a guy do what he wants to do. That's not what it's about. That's not how it goes in camp. If I'm a trainer, even on my job to train a lot of people, look, if I'm training you, you're not listening, it's either me or you. You know what I mean? And this is my place, so, hey, you got to go. That's how I feel. You got to go. If you're not listening, or if you're not listening, then you're gonna sink. There's gonna be a point where you sink, and I know why you're gonna sink. That's the type of relationship it has to be when it's a trainer and a coach. You hire that coach, or you get with that gym to push you to levels you've never been before. You come in, leave your ego at the door, and you're told, look, you're not the best. You want to be the best? We got to work at it. We got to work at it every day. You think you're good now? You think you're knocking people out? Well, there's other ways to do this. You have God-given power, but all right, let's start becoming more methodical with these knockouts. Let's stop being predictable. You're being predictable. You're not running. You know, your hand-eye coordination stinks. Let's work on it. You know, some of this stuff has to be said. A lot of this stuff has to be said early on in the fighter's career, you know, or they'll continue to just do what they do and they'll settle into a comfort zone. You know, comfort can be a dangerous thing. But like I said, I don't know how much is true, but you've heard about stuff like this in the past with other fighters, and you know, it's not always the fighter's fault. If you're with the camp for almost a decade, then people have to kind of look at you with the suspect chin a little bit. They have to kind of look at you and think, okay, well, you were just kind of around while the getting was good. That's how it's going to be looked at. You know, I can't just look at it and say, you know, Wilder's a bad fighter. I mean, he's going to do what he does, and if you don't tell him, he's going to continue to run it. You know what I mean? So you got to look at it in those different ways. But hopefully, you know, in the future, you know, Wilder, he can make some improvements. I still do like him as a fighter. You know, he's not a bad guy or anything like that. You know, that's why I was kind of hoping there came a point where, yeah, he did start to make improvements on his game, because, you know, I felt like he was still a solid champion. You know, he could still be something bigger. You know, I don't feel like his career is over. As far as his camp, you know, Mark Breland, I don't knock him as far as his accomplishments in boxing for him. But sometimes not every, you know, boxer can be a trainer, or a trainer can't be a boxer. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's just one of those things. So maybe this is for the best. But like I said, maybe if it happened in the midst of Wilder's career, maybe their bond would have been stronger if he was more so more of a butthead to Wilder. Maybe if they like lashed out before in the midst of his career, maybe it would have grown then, or they possibly would have split then, and there would have really been no hard feelings at that time. But yeah, guys, that's all I got on this. I just want to go back and do this little mini cast here, and I'll give you my thoughts on the whole situation with the trainer-boxer relationship and how important it is. You know, it's a critical part. You know, the fighter can't run the camp. You know, his ego can't run the camp. If it's going to be that way, and if you're comfortable with it, then don't get mad when things just blow up. You know, you can't really expose a person for what they do in camp if that's what you let happen. Because, you know, if it's two guys in the corner, y'all need to team up on them and tell them, look, this is the way things go. This is the way things are going to go. Majority rules. Bottom line. But yeah, guys, that's all I got on this. And let me know in the comment section what y'all think about the whole situation. Was this for the best? I think it was, of course. But who do you think Wilder should hook up with that now? As far as, you know, in his training camp, should he get rid of his whole camp? Let me know, guys. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.